I've learned a lot in my practice. And interestingly enough, I was cruising around Reddit as one does, and I kept seeing all these posts about people saying how they're so bad at doing hypnosis or getting people into the hypnotic state. And I thought that was an interesting thing to talk about, because everyone can go into the hypnotic state. It's just, do they want to go into the hypnotic state? Are they allowing themselves or someone else to put them in that state? Now, the other thing I thought was really interesting was, are you really bad at it? Because I thought I was really bad at it at first, and it turned out I just didn't know the signs I should have been looking for in my clients to go, oh yeah, they're in the hypnotic state. Maybe they don't look like it, or they're telling me they didn't feel like it, but I'm the expert, right? So here are the things that I can tell you that you would notice if your client's going into the hypnotic state. One, you're going to see as they're in the awake state talking with you. You might notice their eyes glaze over. You might even notice when you're tapping into something that's visually exciting or stimulating, you might notice pupils dilating a bit. You can also begin to look at when they're in the awake state too, when you're asking them questions, when they start to tap into subconscious thinking and creativity, because they're going to start to look up. Right? This looking up is like you're beginning to create, you're thinking about a future, you're visioning. But when you're looking down, you're tapping into emotions in the past. So that's something to look at. The other thing you might notice once you are starting to put them into the hypnotic state is the breathing patterns changing, right? So again, like the breath is very automatic. And when you go into the hypnotic state, the breath becomes extremely shallow. So it almost looks like the client's not taking a deep breath. And I always tell people, because the breath is automatic, do not intact when you're going into the hypnotic state. Like when you're finally in the process of relaxing the body, do not focus on the breath, because you're enacting your conscious logical mind to manipulate the breath. The next thing you're going to look for is the skin becoming flush, right? You might notice pinking or the skin smoothing out, the jaw slacking. And then you're going to look at the eyes. Right? The eyes, as you start to go into the hypnotic state, start to first wobble up and down. And again, you can bypass these states to go quickly into them. Then they're going to rock back and forth, kind of like an REM movement. And then they can roll up and inward. And that's why when you're giving a hypnotic suggestion, you can talk about the mind's third eye. It's like, I want you to visualize here, and you might get the eyes to naturally roll upward as well. Now, you may notice slight twitching the body as it's relaxing, letting go of tension and tightness. I'm constantly twitching in my left shoulder, interestingly. You might notice that the body just becomes heavy. Now, when I'm putting people into the hypnotic state, I like to tell them that first, the process is relaxing the body first, and then the mind. So again, don't start feeding them huge visualizations, because you're still working with the logical mind here. And those visuals typically come from the subconscious. So work on the body, get the body heavy, the sensation of down, that feeling of releasing, relaxing, energy flowing downward, muscles off. And then when you've done the body, now, because you're helping them redirect their thoughts, right? You're giving them things to think about. I think it's hysterical when I talk to clients. Sometimes they're like, I'm so ADD. I have a really hard time with meditation. I'm like, we just need to give you the right things to think about for your mind to stay active. And that way your mind relaxes the body, has something to do to relax the body. And then the body's relaxed and the mind will follow suit. The same thing happens with sleep. We tend to overthink, I need to go to sleep, I need to go to sleep, right? Getting your thoughts in line, but it's no, focus on the body, right? And so once that happens, you can now go back to the thoughts to begin to shift them into thinking about the visuals and what it is you want them to think about. Now, not everyone is going to be a strong visualizer. So it can be, I want you to visualize, think about, picture, pretend. What would it be like if this? And you can set your clients up for success before your session. Setting expectations is imperative. You cannot do this wrong, right? You're setting them up for success. You can only do this right. I'm here that if my techniques aren't working, I'm going to see it in your body, and I'm going to shift my techniques to be more visual, imaginative, sensory, right? Look for the cues in the body. There's a lot of them. And you're going to get to know them better. Are you going into the hypnotic state? I know Freud thought it was a really interesting process, because he's like, I can't connect to them. I can feel my client's intuitive energy as they're going into the hypnotic state or waking up out of it, because I can tell immediately when their energy shifts. Mine goes boom, my energetic radar goes off, and then it's like, I need to bring them back down. But also, and last, remember, hypnosis is not a process where you go, woo, down. You can. However, it typically looks like this, where you're relaxing and then you're going down, then you're like, whoa, I'm about to wake up. And then it's like, whoa, and then you go down. So it's a process of going up and then down, but you're getting incremental gains every time you might come up. That's why sometimes I might start my client with an eye fascination, looking at the wall, having them then close their eyes, bring them down, and then I might have them open their eyes again, find that spot, because they want to go back to that relaxed place, right? You're stimulating the eyes again, getting them to drop a little bit deeper, right? That first time they're like, I don't know what to expect. I'm kind of nervous, block, block, block. Then the eyes are taking in all this information. You have them close them. They're like, that feels good. Rejigger them, have them open their eyes, look again, keep focusing. Their mind already wants to go back to that more relaxed state. Let them drop in. The mind's like, this feels good. This feels safe. I know what to expect. It's not scary. And then you can keep leading them deeper and deeper and deeper still. And again, there is always a point when you're going from really that deeper, like, alpha to theta state, where clients have this like disconnect between your conscious mind, right? It's sort of like, I need to keep paying attention, but I feel like I'm falling asleep. And that's where you're beginning to really get that logical mind disconnecting, as it does feel illogical to not be paying attention. So sometimes even setting your clients up for success by saying, hey, there's going to be a point where it feels like you're not going to be listening to me. Allow yourself to go past that point, because the difference is, in the logical awake state, you are intently listening. And then when you get into the subconscious state, it's almost like you're just hearing the thoughts flow through. You don't have to catch them to make them process to be logical, rational, reasonable, and stuff like that either. And so giving them that setup where it's okay, because the fear can be, right? And this is another thing you need to look for as a hypnotherapist, is dipping into past the theta state into sleep, right? And again, the breath, you're going to notice that because I'm intuitive and aligned with my client's energy, I can tell right away, because all of a sudden I'm like, there's this like someone cut a cord, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, what? Or you're going to notice that their breathing pattern changes again, right? Their breathing becomes more of a rolling breath, and that brings them down. So again, you can just bring them back up. You might need to just gently tap them on the shoulder or on the foot. Again, making sure that like clients, like if they have a don't touch policy, making sure you have that to bring them back up into the hypnotic state as well. Because again, if you're counting from 0 up to 5 and they're not coming up, you've lost them. They're in the sleep state, and you want to keep them in the subconscious state. So all of these things are really, you're going to learn them, but awareness is everything when you're going through the hypnotic states, because that's where you're going to learn like how to do what, watching the body. The body tells you everything. So the more you can tune into what the body is doing in the hypnotic state, the better you're going to be at reading your client to know when to drop the suggestions, right? Because you don't even need to be in a deep theta state sometimes to get the benefit of the work, sometimes even a light state. And sometimes your clients are in an awake hypnotic state when you're talking with them, right? Their eyes are glazed over, they're visualizing, they're imagining, they're looking up, they're already reprogramming the mind. So again, like there's a lot of work that's being done throughout your whole session.